I actually got to be the conduit. I got to be the right person in the right place where God could use me to help serve another person.
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's newsman,
And if you were just
Logan
trying to
Crawford.
investigators, they now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're sharing real-life stories of faith, healing, and resilience that prove hope is still possible, no matter how hard life hits. We're talking to a terrific author. His name is Robert S. Roman Montague, and he joins us to discuss his powerful book. It is called An Ensign Life. No way this stuff ever happens in real life. It is a powerful collection of personal anecdotes about trials, loss, and triumph. If you ever wondered whether God is truly present in the details of your life, this conversation, this book, is for you. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team for helping us put him on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Roman, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on the show. In the book, you describe a lifetime of defining spiritual moments. When did you first realize that these experiences were forming a larger pattern in your life?
You know, that's an excellent question.
Thank you.
It took a lot of challenges and trials to make me look closer and examine my life to see how many wonderful things had happened and how many wonderful things were happening. Often we take so many things for granted or we miss the subtleties. And sometimes we have to experience some pain and challenges to help us recognize the good times.
Yeah, absolutely. A look back is amazing. I mean, even if you look back in the decades of your life, what I was doing in
Yes.
the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, the 2000s, things have a little more perspective in the rearview mirror, I think. And I think that's what your book is providing, a little bit of a magnifying glass on the small things in life that added up to be big things in your life. Your missionary stories, for example,
Yes.
show how obedience and small decisions led to life-changing outcomes. Talk to us about those early lessons and how they shaped the man you became afterward.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because as I look back in hindsight, I could see how each of these experiences built upon one another and how they actually prepared me for the next step. Um, and you don't know that at the time you're experiencing it, you're just having experiences. But as time goes on, you see how these previous experiences have prepared you for the next experience to come and how that one prepares you for the next one. So for me, with these early experiences, I think I was kind of naive to them and not really grateful and recognizing the significance, power, and importance of those until I got further down the line and I had to deal with challenges and I realized I'm prepared to handle these challenges. At the time, I feel like I'm overwhelmed, but when I look back, I said, no, I am inexperienced, but I do have the skills and tools and abilities to utilize those previous experiences to help me weather the storms that I'm currently going through.
When you look back on your life, what are the most profound, or what is the most profound experience in your life, would you say?
Gosh, and that would be, I guess the quick answer would be to say the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh, those defining moments, um, one of those would have been with my missionary service. Those are just experiences you don't get any other way except to experience them.
Yeah.
Um, a second one would have been my college experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the educational experience. Um, Significant would have been the loss of a business that I started. I started a nonprofit organization, built it up over a number of years, and through a series of really unfortunate experiences, that business was lost, and it took me with it. And the net result was just cold, total, complete, and devastation to my life. But it was out of that experience um, that strengthened and I think to a degree purified me and led to my ultimate healing.
Yeah. Your book is very honest about disappointment, regret, personal weakness. Why was it important to include those vulnerable experiences alongside the miracles?
And that's also a really excellent question. So this book, An Ensign Life, is the second in a two-book series. The first one is called "And Should the Sky Fall," and that's the story of the complete devastation that took place in my life. So it became kind of the cornerstone. And as I wrote about those experiences, and what made it unique and so important when I got to An Ensign Life was that I wrote it as I was going through it. Oftentimes, these types of books are people who have experienced something, and then they look back on the experience and discuss the experience that they had. In the first book, And Should the Sky Fall, I wrote that while in the midst of the trials and challenges, kind of like being in the middle of a hurricane, the eye of a hurricane. And so that was real-time experiences was happening. And when I got through with that book, I was kind of going, oh my gosh, if people read this, they're just going to be left brokenhearted. So I need to give them the rest of the story, which was then the motivation for getting into An Ensign Life, where I could take all those experiences that I had shared and share everything I had learned and how all these experiences together create just an Ensign Life, a wonderful life.
Yeah. Many of the profound moments in your life happened in ordinary places, a
Yes.
football field, a living room, a dusty road. Talk to us about how you help readers recognize the sacred in their own everyday lives.
How they experience it, how they do that. Yeah, I think this is for me is a part of going from a two-dimensional life to a three-dimensional life. If we're just going through these things, looking at physical experiences, we miss the depth. As we pay attention to those experiences, the physical experiences, those are the ones that can actually open up our eyes to the spiritual significance of those events. One of the stories I share there is of leaving the library late at night, and I'm exiting the library 11:30 at night, at the same time another young woman is leaving, and we seem to be going the same direction, and it's dark. And I don't know what she was thinking, but I was getting anxious for her, thinking some guy's following me in the dark across campus.
Yeah.
So I stopped and let her get far enough ahead, which she did. And I was just getting ready to walk across the street towards my dorm, and I heard her trying to start a car up in the parking lot. And it wasn't starting. And I had this prompting, the still small voice saying, "Go help her." And I remember thinking to myself at the time, help her do what? It's a dark parking lot. I know nothing about automobiles. I have no tools. What am I going to do? Stare at her car or what?
Right.
And so I'm having this argument inside my own head. And for me, it was a spiritual argument. I'm arguing with the Spirit of God there. And he says, go help her. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't know anything about cars. And he says, go help her. And I said, look, I'm tired. And I got a final tomorrow morning. I've been studying all day. And the spiritual prompting said, you want any help with that test tomorrow morning? And I go, okay, you win. No problem. So I walked over there. I approached her. She rolled down the window, wasn't freaked out. She told me what the problem was. The Spirit said, look underneath the hood. I, of course, I'm still arguing with the Spirit and say, underneath the hood and do what? Look at a motor in the dark? It ain't happening. And so I just told her, I said, maybe we'll push start it. It was a Volkswagen Bug. standard transmission. I said, push the clutch in, put it in gear. I'll push the car and it'll start up. And of course, that didn't happen. But after several minutes of pushing this car around the parking lot, I got daggers in my thighs. I can't breathe. My lungs on fire, sweat's dripping in my eyes. The Spirit says, "Are you ready to follow directions yet? Look underneath the hood." And I go, at this point, I'll look underneath the hood just so I can stop and have a breath. And sure enough, I opened the hood, and the only thing in the world that I knew was a disconnected coil wire. And the only reason why I knew that was because a year before, when I was doing student teaching, the students wanted to say hello and disconnected that on me. And a teacher walking by showed me what and said the kids just wanted to say hi. So when I looked underneath that hood and I saw that disconnected coil wire, I put it together, and the Spirit said, "You could have saved yourself a lot of running around in the night in this parking lot." And she started the car up and took off. And I'm sitting there going, man, such a small, simple thing, but such a powerful reminder to listen to the still small voice. Don't just try to be smarter than everybody else. Listen. And here's another key part of that. As I was walking home that night, I had this prompting that, Roman, you were the answer to that young woman's prayer in the parking lot. She had been praying for help from God to help this situation out. And I go, wow, I actually got to be the conduit. I got to be the right person in the right place where God could use me to help serve another person. And I was kind of blown away with that when I thought. And then I further thought, and this is really important to me too, was that somewhere back east in Minnesota, Iowa, Tennessee, two parents were saying, God, our daughter is 2,000 miles away from home. Please watch over her because we can't do it from here. And I got to be the answer to her prayer as well as her parents.
Amazing. Amazing. If readers could take away just one truth or lesson from this book, what would you want that to be?
God loves us. He's in the details of our life. If we ever feel separated from him, it wasn't him who moved.
Yeah. And what inspired you to take your life experiences and put them down on paper?
Well, and that gets back to the earlier book there, And Should the Sky Fall? At that time in my life was just a total upside down, chaotic wreck. And I knew it was eating me up from the inside out. And I knew if I didn't eradicate this pressure, this stress, this pain, this anger, this hurt, it was going to kill me. But I also knew that if I got it out of my body and out of my heart and out of my soul, it would be lost forever. And I came up with the novel idea, I'm sure that nobody's ever had, write it down. Maybe that's why they call novels novel.
Well, we're glad you had that novel idea. Even though this isn't a novel, this is your real life,
Right.
true story. And it's quite amazing, but certainly it was a novel idea. Was there a part of the book that was really hard to get through, really hard for you to write?
No. As I would write one story and I'd get into the details of that, it would prompt another one. And so they all kind of, it's kind of like planting a garden. You don't know how it's going to turn out, but you get started. And as you take steps and insert the flowers and the plants, it kind of opens up and reveals what the next plant is to put in. And as you do that one and you can see more, you know what the next one is. So it's kind of like you can see the next step ahead, but you can't see that far off into the future 4 or 5 steps out. Yeah. You have to walk through each individual step, which then leads you to the next one.
Exactly. Amazing. Looking back now, how has your understanding of faith evolved from the young missionary in the journal entries to the person writing this book?
And that's just been a spiritual journey, and it continues to this day. I think at one point early on, I was kind of arrogant, egotistical, selfish, self-centered, full of myself, thought I had all the answers. As I progressed, I realized I don't have all the answers. He kind of reminded me of a line from the movie Rudy, where Rudy's talking with the priest in the Catholic Church, and the priest looks at Rudy and says, "You know, Rudy, there's only two things in life I'm absolutely sure about. Number one, there is a God, and number two, I'm not him."
Hmm.
And for me, that realization, um, in and of ourselves, we're insignificant, but to God and with Him, we are all exceptionally significant.
Amazing. A beautiful note to leave this on. The name of the book is An Ensign Life. No way this stuff ever happens in real life. It is a powerful collection of personal anecdotes about trials, loss, and triumph. If you ever wondered whether God is truly present in the details of your life, this book is a poignant reminder. Roman, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate your time, your insight, your palpable faith, and the wonderful work you've done on this book. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.